as past paper questions are more important. So we'll, I mean, moles is something that you've already done in your O levels as well. So the first thing is definition. What is a mole? 1 mole is the number of particles equal to the Avogadro's constant. So you would be asked about the definition of what a mole is. So number of particles which are, one second. R is 1. Just a second. So it's 1 mole is number of particles equal to the Avogadro's constant, and the Avogadro's constant is 6.02 times 10 power 23. So it's equal to that, and we'll do the formulas very quickly. There've been mainly 4 formulas which you need to know. The first one is, so the first one is moles is equal to mass over AR or MR. Then you have moles is concentration times volume. And this is, let's write down the formulas first. Then you have moles is the volume of gas. And this is specifically for gases. That's going to be divided by the Avogadro's constant, no, the molar volume, sorry, 24 dm cube. And the last one, the fourth one is moles is number of particles divided by, moles is number of particles divided by the Avogadro's constant, which is 6.02 times 10 power 23. So these are your main 4 formulas for calculating moles. The first one, the molar masses, AR and MR, that's your molar mass. It's simply the atomic masses expressed in grams. So atomic mass is expressed in grams. So this formula, atomic or molecular masses, just as so it's molar, atomic or molecular masses expressed in grams. Okay, hopefully everyone knows how to calculate A or MR. The whole logic about this formula is that you know that sodium has a molar mass of 23 grams. That means 1 mole of sodium has a mass of 23 grams. So if you have 46 grams, how many moles is that? That's 2 moles. 46 divided by 23. If you have 92 grams of sodium, you know that 1 mole has a mass of 23 grams. So 92 divided by 23, that would be 4 moles. So you'd be able to figure out the moles because you know the mass of 1 mole of a substance. That is basically the masses that are given in the periodic table. This one is for solutions only. You can use it for gases as well. The volume is going to be in dm cube, and concentration is going to be mole per dm cube. Sometimes the concentration is also given in grams per dm cube, but that grams can be converted to moles. by using this formula. So if concentration is given in grams per dm cube, then what you can do is divide by mr, and it will get, or AR, and the grams would get converted to moles. So it's going to become mole per dm cube. So make sure remember that as well. Sometimes concentration is given in gram per dm cube. And this formula is only true for solutions only. And very rarely, not used for gases, usually not used, but it's for solutions and gases, but mainly for solutions. This one, volume of gas divided by 24 dm cube. That one is only true at RTP. So it's only for RTP. And if the reaction is not at RTP, then if not at RTP, then you're going to use the ideal gas equation. PV is equal to nRT. So remember, this 24 dm cube thing is only true at RTP. And the last one is about converting to moles. Any number needs to be converted to its unit. A mole is simply a unit for counting substances, just like a dozen or a billion or a million or a trillion. These are all words that represent numbers. So mole is simply a word that represents a particular number. So if you want to convert something to dozens, what do? You divide by 12. Like if I want to convert 60 into dozens, I'm going to divide by 12. I'm going to get 5 dozens. If I have 5,000, or let's say I have this number, and I want to convert this number into thousands, like how many thousands is this? So if I want to convert this number to units, I'm going to divide by 1,000, and that would mean it's equal to 500,000. So if you want to convert any number, if I want to convert the same number to millions, I'm going to divide it by 1 million, which is this one, and I'm going to get 0.5 million. So the point is that if you want to convert a particular number into any unit, you divide it by the unit. So if you want to convert any number to moles, you divide it by what a mole stands for. If I want to convert it into million, I'm going to divide it by 1 million. If I want to convert it into moles, I'm going to divide it by 6.02 times 10 power 23. If I want to convert a number into dozens, I'm going to divide by 12. So this is the logic behind this formula. So you've got these 4 formulas. Make sure you've got to be careful about this formula, which is, this volume of gas formula. In O levels, you always used 24 dm cube, but now you have to be very careful that it's only going to happen at RTP. Otherwise, you're going to use PV is equal to nRT. So anyways, we are counting atoms and molecules and electrons. Everything is counted in moles. Okay, you don't. हाँ जी.
सर जब ग्राम पर डीएम क्यूब को मोल पर डीएम क्यूब में कन्वर्ट करना थे तो डिवाइड बाय एमआर करते हैं.
हाँ, क्योंकि बस वो मास को मोल्स में कन्वर्ट कर दो ना. ग्राम मतलब डीएम क्यूब तो वही रहेगा. ऑल यू हैव टू डू इज कि वो जो ग्राम्स है ना उसको यू हैव टू कन्वर्ट दैट टू मोल्स. तो मतलब ग्राम्स को एमआर से डिवाइड करो, क्या बन जाएगा? मोल्स बन जाएगा ना.
ओके,
ठीक है. तो रिमेंबर दिस के concentration is sometimes given in gram per dm cube as well. ठीक है. तो ये 4 formulas हैं. और remember moles is simply a unit for counting atoms. ठीक है. जैसा आप अंडे लेने जाते हो तो dozens में बात करते हो. ठीक है. So we have different units for different things. For atoms we have moles. So every counting would be done in moles. अच्छा, फिर what else do we need to know? We need to know कि we're counting atoms and molecules in moles. It's important because all industrial reactions are happening. So you have to count the quantity that is going to be produced. Now we've got equations. What is an equation? An equation is like a recipe. It's a recipe of making things. ठीक है, आप केक बनाते हो तो उसके अंदर आप चीजें डिफरेंट रेशो में ऐड करते हो. So that happens in every chemical reaction. Like if you want to make something, there has to be a specific ratio in which those things need to be added. So here's an equation. I'm trying to make Na2O, and there's a specific ratio in which those things need to be mixed up. And that ratio is that you're supposed to take 4 sodiums, उसके अंदर आपने एक ऑक्सीजन को मिक्स करना है, and as a result 2 molecules produce हो जाएंगे इसके sodium oxides के. So there's going to be a specific ratio in which things are going to mix. And that ratio is not the ratio of the mass. It's not the ratio of the volume. This ratio is specifically the ratio of moles. So the ratio in the equation represents mole ratio. ठीक है, be careful with that. It doesn't mean कि 400 grams होगा तो यहाँ पे according to the ratio there would be 100 grams. ठीक है, it's the ratio of the quantity, the number of particles or moles. So ratio in equation represents the mole ratio. That's it. It's not the mass ratio. So it's not the mass ratio or any other ratio. Mass or volume. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. So it's simple. All you have to do is, and remember, you have to be very, very quick. Okay, that's one thing that's very important. You've got to be very quick. So if I have 0.15 moles of sodium. Now, one way to do this is you start using ratios just like you did in O levels. कि भाई 4:1 है तो 0.15 ratio क्या होगा x, and then you cross multiply, and then you try and figure out what x is, and x would come out to be what? It would come out to be 0.15 divided by 4, right? But the thing is, you've got to be quick. Okay, so most of the things, I mean, you're going to waste time if you do this. So always just do this. If you know the moles, and this is the thing if you know the moles of any one of the substance in the equation, इस सारे में ना किसी एक का भी पता लग गया अगर आपको, you find the moles of any one of them, all you've got to do is कि उससे सारों के moles निकल आएंगे. Like if I know the moles of this one, 0.15, what I'm going to do is take 0.15, divide by 4 into the other ratio. So 0.15 should be divided by its own ratio and into the other ratio. So it's going to be 0.15 divided by 4 into 1. So you have to be quick. Don't waste time doing the crisscross thing. So you've got to be quick. So 0.15 divided by 4 into 2. So that would give you the moles of this one. Right? So कोई मुझे बता दे कि क्या values आ रही हैं? What are we getting?
0.0.
What is this one? 0.
0.0375.
अच्छा, so you're getting 0.0.
So not for this one. ये जो Na2O का जो है उसके moles हैं 0.075.
अच्छा, उसके कितने हैं? उसके इससे भी half होंगे. 0. क्या होगा?
0.0375.
अच्छा, 0.0
375.
375. ठीक है. So just remember, in A levels you've got to be quick. ठीक है, you have to work on that. It's not just solving or understanding, but you have to be very, very quick. Time is a major issue. It's like keep this in mind. One grade at least if you're not careful about time, you're gonna get B. ठीक है, you can't get A. ठीक है, time की वजह से ना एक grade improve हो सकता है if you time yourself perfectly and if you're quick with solving questions. MCQs में ना आपके you might end up missing out on 5 MCQs just because you're not fast enough. ठीक है, so you've got to be fast enough. So वरना A grade ना सिर्फ टाइम की वजह से चला जाएगा, मतलब A से ना B आ जाएगा क्योंकि टाइम के अंदर आपने नहीं किया. So just always remember, you find the moles of one, all moles questions are going to be solved in exactly the same way. You find the moles of one substance. Using that, you can figure out the moles of all the other substances by using this ratio. So 0.15 divided by 4 into 1, that gives you this. 0.15 divided by 4 into 2, that gives you this. So जिसकी भी moles पता है, so we'll do another one. ठीक है. This time I've got 3 Cl2s and I've got the reacting with 6 NaOH. And आगे जाके ना they're producing 5 NaCls, I think, and 1 NaClO3. Plus 3 H2Os. अच्छा, इसमें ना moles हमें किसके पता है? I know the moles of let's say किसी एक की भी पता है. Let's say this one. The moles are given that this has 2.5 moles. ठीक है. एक की भी moles पता लगे, you can find the moles of all the other substances. So if this is 2.5 moles, so what would Cl2 be? It would be 2.5 divided by 6 into 3. What do you get? और उसका half ही हो गया. So 2.5 divided by 6 into 3. What do you get for this?
So 1.25.
Okay, so you're getting 1.25 moles. What about this one? 2.5 divided by 6 into 5. How many moles would that be?
So 2.083.
Okay, that's coming out to be 2 point. Okay, that's coming out to be 2.083 moles.
हाथ वाले के हैं सर 0.41.
ठीक है, वो क्या करना? हाँ, और pick any one. ठीक है, it's going to be 2.5 divided by 6 into 1. कितने आ रहे हैं?
0.42.
तो you're getting 0.
NaCl वाले के साथ भी कर सकते हैं ना?
हाँ, आप किसी का भी रेशियो यूज कर सकते हो. ठीक है, इट्स ऑलवेज गोइंग टू बी द सेम आंसर. इसके कितने होंगे? इसके मतलब 1.25. ठीक है. So remember, you can use any moles for ratios. ठीक है, किसी से भी निकालो as long as you know them. But the point is, if you know any one of the moles, you can find out the moles of all the other substances. The rest is all just formulas. All you have to do in the rest is simply use formulas. Now, based on this, there's another thing that we're going to do. Yeah, बल्कि इसका ना एक थोड़ा सा practice कर लें, just one more. Let's say we have an equation where there's calcium hydroxide and it's reacting with phosphoric acid, and they're producing calcium phosphate plus H2. Anyway, so it's going to be 3 calcium hydroxides and 2 phosphoric acids and 6 H2Os, I think. 6. So let's say I know the moles of this, 0.15 moles. तो बाकी में मोल्स जल्दी से बताओ इसके साथ वाले के क्या होंगे? 0.15 divided by 2 into 3. What do you get?
So 0.225.
ठीक है, so this is going to be 0. और फिर कैल्शियम फॉस्फेट के कितने होंगे? 0.15 divided by 2 into 1. So that's going to be 0.075. And then it's going to be 0.15 divided by 2 into 6 would be
0.45.
Okay, so it's 0.45 for water. अच्छा, now तो ये clear है सारों को, this thing very basic, ठीक है, but you have to be quick with this, ठीक है, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, now the other part is कि इसके पास क्या है, the other part is that the same thing, there's a thing called limiting and excess, ठीक है, ये एक सेकंड किसी का, ठीक है, अच्छा, now just see. Now there's another thing that's called limiting excess. That's the second type of question. Remember, all the rest is the same thing. ये सारा moles का question है. That's about it. All the rest is just formulas. ठीक है? It's just formulas. They might ask you to figure out the mass of water. So the 4 formulas given above, you can figure out which formula to use for mass. They might ask you to figure out the volume of a gas. So you know the moles, you can figure out the volume of gas. They might ask you the number of particles. So the rest is just formulas. Okay? That's the main thing when you're dealing with moles. Now, same thing, there's another thing called limiting and excess reactant. And one second. So now there's another thing called limiting and excess reactant. Achha, limiting excess reactant, what happens in that? What happens is, like, I'll give you an example. Okay, so it's an extension of what we are doing just right now. So I've got a reaction in which the ratio is 1:1. I've got NaOH reacting with HCl and it produces NaCl and H2O. And I've got 20 moles of this, and I've got 35 moles of HCl. So I've mixed them together, right? So how many moles of NaCl should be produced in this reaction? Remember, the ratio is 1:1. So how much NaCl should be produced? Okay, what's the answer to this? Should it be 35 moles or should it be 20 moles? What's the answer?
20.
Okay. Because the ratio is, remember, the ratio at the moment is 1:1. मतलब वो जो recipe है ना, वो ये कह रही है कि 1 NaOH reacts with 1 HCl. So that means 20 moles of NaOH will only react with 20 moles of HCl. It can't react with 35. It's 1:1. So 20 will only react with 20. आपने HCl जो है ना, you've added too much of HCl. You've added it in excess. ठीक है? So इसका मतलब है 15 moles are in excess. They're more than the required amount. So 15 moles are in excess. So 20 is only going to react with 20. And they're going to produce 20 moles of NaCl and 20 moles of H2O as well, because everything is 1:1. Now this over here is known as the limiting reactant. So this one is your, and the other one is your excess reactant. So remember this, and this is a major point, and that is that when you're calculating moles, only limiting reactant moles are used. And excess reactant moles are ignored.
सर इससे कब यूज किया जाता है
किसको?
लिमिटिंग रिएक्टेंट को?
वो बता रहा हूँ। जैसे ये क्वेश्चन था ना, पिछले क्वेश्चन में देयर वाज नो, आई मीन यू डिडंट हैव अ चॉइस। मैंने सिर्फ एक ही दिया हुआ था ना, जैसे यहाँ पे मैंने 2.5 मोल्स दिए हुए थे, ठीक है। इधर इशू ये कि रिएक्शन के अंदर ना, क्वेश्चन में उसने क्या कह दिया कि उसने दोनों मोल्स दे दिए, इसके 20 मोल्स और इसके 35 मोल्स। तो रिजवान ये क्लियर है कि 35 एक्सेस में है, क्योंकि 20 रेशो क्या, 1:1, 20 जो है वो कितने के साथ रिएक्ट करेगा, इट विल ओनली रिएक्ट विद 20। इज दैट क्लियर?
यस सर।
तो आगे जाके प्रोड्यूस कितने होंगे? 20, और वो भी कितने प्रोड्यूस होंगे? 20। 35 तो प्रोड्यूस नहीं हो सकते ना, ठीक है। तो इसका मतलब है कि जब भी आप रेशो लगा रहे हो ना, तो यू ओनली गोइंग टू यूज द लिमिटिंग रिएक्टेंट मोल्स, ठीक है। आपने एक्सेस वाले मोल्स जो 35 है ना, ये गलत है। 35 आपको ऐड ही नहीं करना चाहिए था। दिस वाज द रॉन्ग क्वांटिटी दैट यू एडेड। दिस वाज एक्चुअली मोर देन द रिक्वायर्ड अमाउंट। दिस इज द क्वांटिटी दैट इज नॉट फुली टेकिंग पार्ट इन द रिएक्शन। तो 35 आपको कहीं पे भी आप उसको 35 को यूज नहीं करोगे, उसको बस आप कट आउट करोगे, जस्ट सिंपली इग्नोर इट, ठीक है। All calculations are going to be done using the limiting reactant moles. Clear, Rizwan?
यस सर।
So make sure limiting or excess का question तब उठता है when in the question they give you 2 moles, मतलब 2 चीजों के moles दिए हुए। तब आपको ये नहीं समझ आ रहा कि if you want to figure out the moles of NaCl, should you use 35 moles? क्योंकि अगर 35 से रेशो लगाओगे you should get 35, और should you use 20 moles, 20 से रेशो लगाओगे you should get 20। तो आप किसको यूज करोगे? आप लिमिटिंग रिएक्टेंट को यूज करोगे, ठीक है। सफा, इज दिस क्लियर? सिद्रा, बाकी
Yeah,
क्लियर?
sir.
अच्छा, so in 1:1 it's fairly obvious, but it's not that obvious when the ratios are slightly different. For example, I've got कोई और रेशियो लगा लेते हैं, वो 4Na वाला कर लेते हैं। I've got 4Na reacting with O2 and it's producing 2Na2O. Achha, now the issue is कि let's say I've got 5.5 moles of this and I've got 3 moles of this. पहले तो जल्दी से बताओ कि which one has been added in excess and which one?
5.5.
अच्छा, so anyone else? Which one is in excess? Remember, excess का मतलब है कि it's more than the required amount. मतलब if I say 5.5 is in excess, का मतलब है 5.5 is not fully taking part in the reaction.
एक्सेस में से यही है 3 मोल्स वाला एक्सेस में।
ठीक है, O2 is the one that's in excess. ठीक है, अब Rizwan, now listen to this carefully. It's not the one that's added in a bigger amount that's in excess. जो बच जाएगा reaction में, that's the one that's left at the end of the reaction, that's the one that's in excess. but इसका ratio लगाओ ना कि 5.5 divided by 4 into 1 करो, क्या आता है? What do you get? Like if 5.5 were to react, 5.5 divided by 4 into 1 karo, how many moles do you get for that? What's the answer?
So it's 1.375.
1.375.
इसका मतलब है कि 5.5 जो है वो तो पूरा का पूरा रिएक्ट करेगा, वो तो नहीं बचने वाला ना, क्योंकि 5.5 ने 4:1 के मुताबिक अगर रिएक्ट करना है, 5.5 डिवाइड बाय 4 into 1 नीड्स जस्ट 1.375 मोल्स। इसका मतलब है ऑक्सीजन आपने ज्यादा डाला हुआ है, क्योंकि आपको तो रिएक्शन में सिर्फ 1.375 चाहिए। ऑक्सीजन तो रिमेंबर उसकी जो क्वांटिटी रिक्वायर्ड है ना, उससे ज्यादा जो डला हुआ है ना, दैट्स द वन दैट्स इन एक्सेस। रिजवान, इज दिस क्लियर?
यस सर।
तो इसका मतलब है ऑल कैलकुलेशंस, ये जो 3 मोल्स था ना, दैट मस्ट बी cut out from the expression. You're not going to use this 3 moles. ठीक है, those are not going to be used. All calculations would be done using the limiting reactant. This is the limiting reactant. So that's your limiting reactant. And if you were to want to figure out the moles of Na2O, तो आप ये 3 moles को use नहीं करोगे. You'll use 5.5 divided by 4 into 2. What do you get for that? कितना बन जाएगा? 2.75. Right? 5.5 divided by 4 into 2. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
अच्छा, लेकिन अब फिर वापस आ जाते हैं. ठीक है, just rub all of this. So the whole question is कि limiting excess could become confusing, especially when the ratio is not 1:1. 1:1 it's obvious, but when the ratio is 4:1 or something else, it's not obvious which one is the one that's in excess. तो उसका shortcut ये कि क्योंकि आपने इसके moles limiting reactant से निकालने, ठीक है, excess वाले को आपने cut out कर देना. The shortcut is कि आप 5.5 को पकड़ो, and what you do is you divide it by its ratio, which is 4. अच्छा, दूसरे के moles कितने हैं? 3 moles है. You divide it by its ratio, which is 1. अच्छा, इन दोनों में से whichever one is the bigger one, that's the one that's in excess. तो इसको आपने यूज नहीं करना, यानी जो भी कैलकुलेशन करनी है वो इसके साथ करनी है, 5.5 मोल्स के साथ. ठीक है, जो भी रेशो यूज करना है, all ratios would be used using this 5.5 thing. ठीक है, तो that's the shortcut है. फिर से मैं बता रहा हूँ कि ताकि कंफ्यूजन ना हो, क्योंकि हमने काम जल्दी करना है. ठीक है, हम उस पर बैठ नहीं सकते कि हमारे पास इतना टाइम नहीं है कि हम 1 मिनट का 1.5 मिनट हमें मिला हुआ है क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने के लिए, तो हम उसके अंदर पूरी डिटेल में नहीं जा सकते. सो शॉर्टकट है, इसके मोल्स को उठाओ, इसके 4 से डिवाइड कर दो, इसके मोल्स को उठाओ 1 से डिवाइड कर दो. और ये डिवीजन इररिलेवेंट है, इसको क्वेश्चन में कहीं नहीं लिखना, लेकिन वो पता लग जाएगा कि which one is in excess. इन दोनों में जो भी बड़ा नंबर आ रहा है, that's the one that's in excess. उसको बस आप काट दो. Don't use that. All calculations would be done using this 5.5 divided by 4 into 2, तो ये 2.25 आ जाएगा. इस नंबर को आपने यूज नहीं करना. ठीक है, क्लियर है सारों को? सफा, is this clear?
Yeah, sir.
Achha, so we'll just do a bit more of this. So I've got a reaction and it's 6 HCls and it's producing AlCl3 plus I think how many H2s? 3 H2Os. So here's the reaction. And needs 2 AlCl3. Okay, now it's balanced. So the question states that there is 0.45 moles of this. And there is 1.2 moles of this. Now tell me which one is the one that's in excess. Like if I were to want to find the moles of these substances, should I use this? Should I use this? The shortcut you हाँ कौन सा?
Al2O3 वाला यूज करेंगे क्योंकि 6 के क्योंकि उसकी मोल्स 6 के 5 मोल्स आ रहे हैं, दूसरे के 0.45, तो 6 वाला ज्यादा है, HCl वाला ज्यादा है.
तो वो एक्सेस में है ना, एक्सेस को तो यूज नहीं करना.
जी सर, और दूसरा यूज करेंगे.
हाँ मतलब नहीं, एक सेकेंड कर लो, एक्सेस फिगर आउट करना. So 0.45 would be divided by what number? 1, right?
जी.
और 1.2 का क्या रेशियो बना हुआ है ऊपर जो इक्वेशन में? It's 6, right? तो इन दोनों में से कौन सा बड़ा नंबर आ रहा है?
जी सर, इसका आ रहा है 0.2. अच्छा सर, वो मैंने 6 को डिवाइड कर लिया था. सर इसका आएगा 0.2.
ठीक है, इसका 0.2 आ रहा है और इसका 0.45 आ रहा है. So this is the one that's in excess. इसका मतलब इसको यूज नहीं करना. ठीक है, तो आपने क्या करना है 0.45 डिवाइड बाय 1 और 1.2 डिवाइड बाय 6 दोनों के उसके रेशियो से डिवाइड करो इसका नंबर बड़ा आ रहा है तो दैट मींस दिस इज द वन दैट्स इन एक्सेस सो ऑल कैलकुलेशंस वुड बी डन यूजिंग दीज मोल्स नॉट दीज मोल्स और वो आप प्रूफ भी कर सकते हो कि इसके मोल्स कितने होंगे 1.2 डिवाइड बाय 6 इनटू 1 करो कितने मोल्स बन रहे हैं 0.2 बन रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब यू नेवर नीडेड 0.45 यू जस्ट नीडेड 0.2 ठीक है so that's the one that's in excess and this is the limiting reactant so always use your limiting reactant moles और इसके आगे आगे वालों का बता दो इन दोनों के कितने होंगे 1.2 डिवाइड बाय 6 into 2 what do you get and the other one as well 1.2 divided by 6 into 3
0.4 आएगा इसका AlCl3 का
0.4 moles और उसका
उसका आ रहा है 0.6
ठीक है उसका 0. You're getting 0.6 moles of that ठीक है so make sure remember this trick and this would be applicable when two reactant moles are known तो उनमें से एक गलत होंगे एक होंगे वो they might be more than the required amount ठीक है so you have to you're never going to use the ones that are in excess ठीक है अब इतना टाइम तो नहीं to do anything else we'll do just one more question and let's say there is Na plus PO4 plus 3 H2s 3 H2s तो इसका बता दो if I have 0.8 moles and I have 0.15 moles tell me which one is in excess
सर Na 0.13 मोल्स है Na वो ज्यादा है
ठीक है तो आप क्या करोगे जल्दी 0.8 डिवाइड बाय 6 करोगे खैर इसमें इतना फर्क 0.8 डिवाइड बाय 6 और 0.15 डिवाइड बाय
इसका 0.075 आ रही है सर ये लिमिटिंग है
ठीक है तो ये नंबर बड़ा आ रहा है तो दिस इज द वन दैट्स इन एक्सेस तो आपने बस इसको ना जस्ट कट इट आउट ठीक है ये नॉट गोइंग टू यूज द एक्सेस मोल्स जो भी होंगे वो इससे निकालोगे 0.15 से सारों का रेशियो निकालोगे ठीक है so is that clear we just did the basics remember the four formulas that's pretty much it वो yield वगैरह हम बाद में कर लेंगे लेकिन the basic moles question is simply this you know the moles of one thing and you'll be able to just using ratios you'll be able to figure out the moles of all the other substances in the equation और अगर लिमिटिंग एक्सेस वाला आ गया अगर आपको दो के मोल्स दे दिए तो उसमें से पहले आपको फिगर आउट करना पड़ेगा कि एक्सेस में कौन सा उसको बस आप कट आउट कर दो ठीक है डोंट यूज दैट तो उसका भी तरीका बता दिया इज दैट क्लियर कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है
No, sir.
ठीक है कल फिर ना वो विल स्टार्ट डूइंग क्वेश्चंस हाँ जी
सर वो आपने बताया था कि रिलेटिव एटॉमिक मास स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी आप करा रहे थे
हाँ वो इसमें हम कर लेंगे
अच्छा और सर
हाँ
सर एक दफा वो गो थ्रू करा सकते हैं वो कौन सी इक्वेशन आपने किस में यूज की थी
कौन सी इक्वेशन
जो ऊपर आपने 4 इक्वेशंस कराई थी इसमें से वो इक्वेशन थी P इक्वल्स टू nRT वो मुझे समझ नहीं आया
अच्छा नहीं वो तो अभी हमने किया ही नहीं है उसको भी इग्नोर करो ये चार फॉर्मूलास थे ना ठीक है
या
तो उसको तो अभी इग्नोर करो ठीक है वो बस मैंने कहा था इसमें जो पॉइंट था ना वो ये था कि ये जो वॉल्यूम ऑफ गैस डिवाइड बाय 24 डीएम क्यूब से आप मोल्स निकालते हो ना मतलब इस फॉर्मूले के पीछे लॉजिक क्या है कि 24 डीएम क्यूब इज इक्वल टू 1 मोल राइट कि 1 मोल गैस ऑक्यूपाइज 24 डीएम क्यूब तो अगर 2 मोल्स होंगे तो गैस का वॉल्यूम कितना हो जाएगा 48 डीएम क्यूब तो 48 डिवाइड बाय 24 करोगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली क्या आता है 2 मोल्स आ जाते हैं अगर 72 डीएम क्यूब होगा तो डिवाइड बाय 24 करोगे तो 3 मोल्स आ जाते हैं, ठीक है। तो लेकिन दिस ओनली अप्लाइज टू गैसेस दैट आर एट आरटीपी, रूम टेम्परेचर एंड प्रेशर, वरना ये फॉर्मूला यूज नहीं करना। अगर क्वेश्चन आरटीपी के ऊपर नहीं है ना, अगर वो कह रहा है कि 150 सेंटीग्रेड के ऊपर काम चल रहा है, इट्स हैपनिंग एट 150 सेंटीग्रेड, then you're not going to use this formula. Clear बात?
Yes, sir.
तो इसका be very careful about this, especially in A levels. Okay, is it at RTP? If it's not at RTP, don't use this formula. ठीक है, make sure you remember this. Then here, next class we'll do different types of questions now. We are done with the basics, so we'll move towards questions in the next class and different types. हाँ जी,
सर आप अपलोड कर देंगे?
ये मैं कर देता हूँ। आधे घंटे बाद प्रोसेसिंग होके फिर मैं देखता हूँ, कल तक मैं कर दूंगा। कल मुझे रिमाइंड करा देना, क्योंकि अभी
वोट नहीं भेज सकते।
हाँ वो मैं भेज दूँ, ठीक है, मैं भेज
और
वो
सर
मैं
मैंने पूछना था सर, जैसे मोल्स में जो जैसे थे वो जैसे H2O है, मतलब उसी की तरह एक एमसीक्यू में आया था कि मतलब उनके फाइंड करने थे मोल्स, वो भी थोड़ा मुश्किल था। ये वाले तो आसान है।
नहीं, कौन
दूसरा
सा?
मैं आपको एमसीक्यू,
हाँ
तो
वो
इसमें पता नहीं है, अजीब सा था, मैं आपको भेज
नहीं,
दूंगी
वो
फिर वो
मुझे एमसीक्यू भेज दो ना, ठीक है।
ठीक है सर, ठीक है।
ओके, अल्लाह हाफिज।